We're keeping it real. Mike, he explains everything. He's open, honest, transparent. He's explaining to the world exactly why he's doing this, and he's showing the repercussions. And the number one comment, fart sound lat spread. Meow, 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 meow. Coach Craig, in today's video, Mike Israetel shocks the world. He has undergone a very serious and very invasive surgery. I have to caution you, to warn you, he has in fact showed these photos. Graphic medical imagery. Swipe at your own risk. And so in the before photo, he weighed in at 268 pounds back in 2011. He was 27 years of age. At the time, he states he was 100% natural and he had bulked to a massive 268 pounds. And in the second photo taken recently, he's 40 years of age while weighing 235 pounds. And he's admittedly not natural. And since that time, he has put on a serious amount of muscle. He's dieted down for competition, got to, I believe it was 6.2% body fat taken with the DEXA scan. And then in his off season, he's perhaps 10 or 15% body fat. And so, unfortunately, what happened, and remember, I'm explaining it exactly as he has, he's decided to get surgery to remove lower back and love handle excess skin and fat cells. Many people have accused him and saying, why don't you just diet it off? This demonstrates that you don't know what you're doing. But here's the thing. When you have excess fat cells from having bulked up too far in the past, it makes it very, very difficult to lose this extra weight. And unfortunately, you can't target fat loss from your body. Mike Israetel has very lean quads, hamstrings, and calves, but he carries the majority of his fat in his stomach, sides, and so on. If he could just magically do a bunch of sit-ups and burn off the body fat in his core, I'm certain he would do so. But unfortunately, unless he walks around at single-digit body fat, he's always going to have excess fat around his midsection. Lots of folks have been asking why I got surgery. It's because once you get really fat in caps, young and dumb of me, your skin and new fat cells kind of don't go away. Don't go over 15 to 20% body fat as a male and 25 to 30% fat as a female if you can avoid it. What have I been preaching for years, decades in fact? That you should be healthy in the off season. That you should gain. Dr. Mike confirms with Coach Greg that bulking beyond a certain point, it's utterly useless. What you're doing is you're stretching the skin out. It's going to then form new skin. And you can, in fact, have extra fat cells that will make it even more difficult to lose weight. But yet, when the majority of people go on a bulk, they're pushing way beyond 20. Many people start their bulk above 20% body fat. Oh, I'm skinny fat. You're 23% body fat. You really think shoving in some extra French fries, burgers, chocolate milk, and so on is going to help you to build more muscle? It's not. You're building more fat cells and, in fact, excess skin. And so his BMI, according to ChatGPT, is 43.9. That is classified as a class 3 obesity, meaning it's severe obesity. And so when you become severely obese, just like Eddie Hall, there are long-term side effects. And so once you diet down, once you try to get shredded, you're going to have excess skin that simply doesn't go away. I don't care how hard you diet. You drop down to sub 5% body fat, you're just not going to look as lean nor as shredded as somebody who was never obese in the past. You can tan your skin all you like, but it's not going to cover up the excess skin that remains. And so Mike reveals that this surgery is super, super tough to go through. He describes it being a ruthless experience, not for everyone and barely even for me. And so many people in the comments section have stated, well, you have body dysmorphia. I personally don't believe that this is body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is when you have a distorted view of the reality of your situation. And so if Mike Israetel, for example, had never been obese in the past and said, I need to remove this excess skin, some excess skin that didn't really exist, that he was looking in the mirror and he felt he had saggy skin, but yet no one else said the same thing, then that would be defined as body dysmorphia. Or for example, you have single-digit body fat and you actually think that you're fat. You can't take your shirt off because you think other people are going to look at you and point at you, stare, and say, look at this fatso. That's body dysmorphia. And so he states, I don't have body dysmorphia, but the excess skin is universally undesirable. So I got it lobbed off. I'm 100% pro any body modification anyone wants to do, so long as they're intelligently appraised the trade-offs. Look at the difference. You're not going to believe the extreme changes that you can see in his physique. Now remember, the trade-off to do something like this is an extensive recovery. Mike Israetel enjoys going to the gym, performing jiu-jitsu, and so on, but for the next 8 weeks, he can't lift anything. And so many of you have embarked on weight loss journeys and so on, and you are in fact going to be left with some excess skin. And remember this, when you get older, your body will not remain as it once was. I'm 49 and my skin is way looser than it was in my past. The extra skin on my lower abdominals is beginning to sag. I was never obese in my past, but yet I even have it. And I'm only 49. So imagine when you're 59, 69, and so on. Or maybe even 79. 79! And for the women out there, if you deliver a baby, especially if you gain a substantial amount of weight, now most women, they need to gain perhaps 30, 35 pounds during a pregnancy, but oftentimes they go way over that. Perhaps 50, 60 pounds and so on. When that happens and you gain a substantial amount of weight, remember your skin doesn't care if it's stretching because of body fat, a muscle, or baby, or anything. And so you're going to develop excess skin and it doesn't always bounce back. This is my first large-scale cosmetic surgery, and let me tell you, it's way harder than dieting. Some of the folks that get like 10 procedures, I have no clue how they get through that. I can say that just having a hernia operation, it put me out for a week. 6 days I was laying in bed. Doctor said, don't lift anything over 10 pounds for 8 weeks. And that was just a hernia. And so imagine how extensive this can be. Women oftentimes after having a baby will get a mommy makeover. They're getting their breast implants done as well as a tummy tuck. It's an extensive surgery. You need a game plan. And I know that from having my hip operated on, both elbows, having several surgeries and so on, all of them are extremely difficult and very, very painful. For those of you who do bodybuilding, getting a spray tan and so on, you're oftentimes going to stain the sheets. This is not a tan. And no, he's not on his period. Holy V-taper. And so is that not the first thing that you notice? The width of the upper body compared to the smallness of the waist. And so this is a dramatic transformation. And so Mike himself says, look, it's very painful. He's not going to be able to train for 8 weeks, but it's going to be worth it in a year from now when he can get back to normal. Seriously, I lost over 100 pounds, did this shit on my own through discipline, and you are on here being called Dr. Mike, giving information. This is a joke. I will never take your information credible, ever, lazy. This is not fair. It's not as if he's currently morbidly obese. Remember, he just did a bodybuilding competition. He's only up around 18 pounds, and so certainly his body fat percentage is definitely in a healthy range. That 100 pounds is very impressive, man. I've lost 20 to 40 pounds 15 times or so during my life. It's always tough. 100 and keeping it off is super legit. And so here's the thing. It's great that you lost 100 pounds. That is remarkable. Mike Israetel has also lost the weight. He isn't fat. The problem is he has excess skin. Skin that developed because he was obese in the past. Now, seeing as you've lost 100 pounds, do you not also have excess skin? Many people are hiding their excess skin in their pants and so on, but there is a lot of excess skin. I think the most famous example of all has to be Nikocado Avocado. Had you not seen his transformation, he went from being perhaps 170 pounds to 400 pounds, became morbidly obese. Then he went on a cut in secret for perhaps 2 years, lost all of the weight, but was left with a ton of extra skin. Now, many people don't realize it. How is this possible? He hides it. He made a video showing this. And what has he done since this time? He's gotten cosmetic surgery, done essentially the same thing as Mike Israetel, because once you're morbidly obese, it stays with you. Not perhaps the fat. Mike Israetel lost the fat, but he couldn't lose the skin. It's not as if he was 270 pounds and they sucked out 50 pounds of body fat. He literally says 235 pounds before surgery, 235 pounds after. He weighs the same. He hasn't sucked out 20 pounds of fat. He didn't have 20 pounds of fat to begin with. I've lost 140 pounds down from 320 to 180, maintaining for the last 3 years. How much of the excess skin will tighten on its own? And so many people think, well, in time, in all due time, it'll get back to normal. It won't. Mike states 20%. And so if you have 5 inches of extra skin, 20% of that is 1 inch. You're still going to be left with 4 inches of excess skin longer than last time. Another man that we all love to follow, Brentley G, who was formerly 570 pounds, is now in the lower 300s. Have you not seen his excess skin? You can't simply go on a cut and expect to get shredded. And so we all know Simon Goliath LaFontaine, who is sponsored by Transcend. He was over 400 pounds and he dieted down to get shredded. He was on a starvation diet doing cardio every single day. He lost the weight, but of course he was still left with excess skin. Nothing he can do about that. He outworked everyone, was dedicated to his craft, but he's left with excess skin. And what about obese to beast? He was on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He showed his incredible transformation, but he was in fact left with a lot of excess skin. Remember, the surgery of which Dr. Mike has stated, it's going to take him 8 weeks in order to recover. And when you love the gym, he loves jiu-jitsu, lifting weights, and so on, and you take what is perhaps the most exciting thing in your life, and you remove it for 8 straight weeks, that shows just how dedicated you have to be in order to get the surgery. I don't know if I could do it. Any thoughts on using peptides like BPC for enhanced recovery? Would something like that even work? Very curious. And so the answer is yes. You could, for example, use BPC 157, TB 500, growth hormone, as these things could in fact speed your healing. But remember, you want to do so with the advice and consent from your doctor. Don't just take things at random. Do your research. Get a qualified medical doctor to help you to know exactly what you're doing. And if you're interested in getting your blood work done, they have qualified medical doctors that can do all of this and prescribe to you exactly what you need. Do you need HRT? Do you need peptides? The best ways to be healthy for the long run. Click the link in the description. And so the question that I think everyone wants to know, are you planning on competing again? The answer, I am. And so I do believe the proof is in the pudding. How effective this surgery will be once Mike Israetel is able to compete and stand on stage again. Clearly, he has a better X-frame where his waist has gotten smaller. And so will it be enough to get an IFBB Pro card? What's the use of that hole? And so if you zoom in, if you dare to look, there is a hole left in his skin. Remember, with a surgery as invasive as this, oftentimes there's going to be some drainage tubes to release fluids into a bag. And the number one comment, fart sound lat spread. And I do believe people are not being malicious with this and saying the lat spread noise. Imagine how much better it's going to be with less skin on the sides of his body. With less body fat, less skin than last time, it's going to be even more impressive than last time. How much will you allow yourself to bulk now so as not to get that back? Mike's response, I only bulk 5 to 10 pounds now at any given time. Mike himself states he's bulking 5 to 10 pounds at most. But yet you, who probably already a bulk, you're trying to bulk even more. Damn! What is the point? What benefit does it have? If you bulk too far, you're not only going to have to diet for months to get it off, you're also going to have excess skin in the process. And so do the pros actually outweigh the cons? I don't think so. They go away naturally with a calorie deficit. Takes longer, but it does. Surgery is not needed. That is not true. And so oftentimes people are going to try to make money on you for something that you have no control over. The creams, the pills, the massages, none of that is going to get rid of your skin. And can you continue to diet? Yes. Mike could get down to, for example, 4% body fat, lose all the fat on his body, but he's still going to have the extra skin. Love it that you were open about this. I have half of a large bath towel worth of extra skin on my body because I was 300 pounds obese and I am now 6% body fat. I just had 28 inches, that's over 2 feet, of excess skin removed from his face and neck for the same reason. Getting super fat is a bad idea. Most of the rest of my skin is on my butt and legs, looks like a brutal recovery. We're keeping it real. Mike, he explains everything. He's open, honest, transparent. He's explaining to the world exactly why he's doing this, and he's showing the repercussions. Don't bulk to an excess amount of body fat when you're younger because it will come back and bite you in the ass when you're older. It's giving The Substance. I watched that movie. It is something. If you haven't seen The Substance, go watch it. You don't know what you're in for. And so I strongly recommend when Mike's able to get back into his training in approximately 8 weeks from now, that he in fact purchases Turk Builder Max as well as Geo2 Max. Improve his recovery, his endurance, train harder than last time. Remember, after 8 weeks of not being as active, he's going to lose a significant amount of muscle. Your muscle, it atrophies, but because of muscle memory, it's going to come back faster than ever before. And so if you're interested, remember we have a money back guarantee and a $20 gift card. Code Greg, 15% off. If you have no money, you can still head over to my website and get the free diet and training program. It's close to 50 pages. And don't forget, I have a brand new coaching service from both myself as well as myself and my team. Lower prices, much more affordable. And so if you're interested, click the link in the description. And until next time, I am out.